Oh my God, was that gut-wrenching, to really say the least. Jeez, 116-115 victory for the Sixers. Came down to the wire. Joel Embiid and JJ Redick were sensational tonight. Absolutely unbelievable, and they had to be. Ben Simmons goes out early after the first quarter with back stiffness. So they had to come up big. Joel, 32 points, 10 rebounds, gets another double-double. JJ Redick was on fire from downtown. Hit 8 of 13 threes. Overall, the Sixers shot great behind the arc, 50%. They hit 17 threes. The Magic also were very prolific behind the three-point line, nailing 16. It was a lopsided game. Up and down it was. Sixers looked great. They go up 14 at one point, and they just blew it completely. Couldn't guard the perimeter. It's been a huge issue of ours. Dario Saric really struggled, and you needed Embiid to really pick up this team and put them on the back because he came in with huge expectations, said he was going to win the MVP, and if he keeps playing like this, he's going to give LeBron James a run for his money. But what I would really like to see, if you guys watch the game tonight, Embiid made it look effortless down there on the block. Okay, the 2 or 3 times that he was down there, Vujovic could not guard him at all. He was too fast. He's got too many moves in the arsenal. He fell in love with his jump shot again tonight. Luckily, a lot of it was going down earlier, but you saw how easy it was for him when he was down there on the block, and especially when we were up by 6 at that point. There was 5 minutes left with Orlando in the penalty, okay? So one way to really screw up their offense, really attack their best player in Vujovic, you go Embiid, get Embiid down there on the block, and just go to town. If he fouls you, I mean, it was pathetic going into the fourth quarter. We were only at the stripe 3 times. Okay, we ended up going 9 from 10 from the charity stripe, but you really have to get to the line more. Just to slow their offensive momentum up. Nobody could guard Evan Fournier. He struggled coming into the night. He was shooting 20% from downtown. He lit us up for 31 points tonight. Nobody could guard him. I'm not sure why Covington wasn't mostly on him the entire night. Vujovic coming back. If you guys remember, we drafted him with the 16 overall pick years ago, 7, 8 years ago. He destroys us all the time. He got his second career triple-double. He was almost unguardable at times. So it's a fun matchup when him and Embiid are going at it, but Embiid being the better player. And Markelle Fultz. Ben Simmons goes out. You don't know who's really going to run the team. I don't think TJ played good tonight at all. He looked lost on the defensive end. He let up a lot of big plays, especially that cut our lead out close to 1 and then gave them the lead. Chasing Evan Fournier and DJ Augustine around. But a lot of blown assignments for TJ. Markelle Fultz stepped into that role just perfect. Played point guard, obviously, there in Washington, but he orchestrated, although he wasn't very prolific from shooting, he did other things. He was able to dish out 7 dimes, played pretty good defense. He was throwing his body out there. You can affect the game more than just, scoring the ball. It'd be nice for him to go out there and score and shoot, but he ended up with 8 points. He put his body on the line. He made a couple diving plays, go after the ball. Good hustle plays. If that's how he's going to add to this team right at this point, that's fine with me. But, I got worried there a little bit, as I'm sure everybody else did, with Embiid carrying the load. You need somebody else to step it up, especially with Ben not in there. Dario really has to improve. That poor guy gets no foul calls whatsoever, but, he only ended up with 13 points. 3 of 8 from downtown. So I'd like to see a lot better play out of him. He's been struggling in the beginning of the year. Covington was okay from downtown, too, even though he loves to fall in love with shooting behind the arc. As we saw it, he had an easy layup during this game, and he gave it up for a turnover. But other than that, we got great production out of the bench, a la JJ Redick. And I really like him coming off the bench. I don't know if everybody's happy with that. I know a lot of people are upset that Fultz is in there starting instead of JJ, but he gives you that extra punch off the bench. That can really shoot from downtown. Landry Shamet really didn't do anything, but I think he could be a nice wingman to go along with JJ Redick as the day goes on, or as the season goes on, but we really needed this win. Great play, too. Great call by Brett to really put Amir Johnson, swap him in for JJ for the inbounder. Jonathan Isaac, very inexperienced. only a second-year player. You put some length in there to affect him inbounding the ball, and then, God, when Terrence Ross got that, especially after he hit that half-court shot, you had to hold your breath a little bit because that had a chance. The guy's got range. He was really good when he was in there in Toronto, especially at the University of Washington. He's got range from all over the place. I couldn't believe that he made that shot from half court. That was greatly defended by the Sixers, both on that half court shot that he made and at the end of the game. That length, a little bit of length that Amir put in there was able to alter his shot. Poor decision on his, but benefits the Sixers, and we are now 2-1 on the season. So we still have a lot of work to do. You expect us to come in and beat these teams because they are not as talented as the Sixers, with Chicago and Orlando. But any given night, any team can win. These are all professional teams, all professional basketball players. So it doesn't matter what competition you're going up against. Nothing is a given in the NBA, and you just got to follow your game plan. So I thought Brett made some key adjustments towards the end that I was happy to see. But Wilson, I don't know if he'll be back within the next couple weeks. He's got a lingering hamstring, to answer your question. They tend to really be really funky injuries. I don't know if you've ever had them, but they can last a very long time. Sometimes players even have to get, or even athletes have to get surgery to fix them. So I would say Wilson's going to be out in another couple weeks. We could really greatly use him, though. You have another defender that can go out there and guard the perimeter. We were awful guarding the perimeter tonight. It's been our weakness for even the past couple seasons. And when you have a lockdown defender like Robert Covington and no real other help out there, Zaire Smith, another lockdown defender, also is out with that Jones fracture in his foot. So to get those two guys back in this lineup, would be instrumental in helping the Sixers get to 56 wins, which is the number I think that they're going to get this season and make a playoff push. But got to take it at a game at a time, as cliche as that is. But Wilson, I hope he can get back in here because he adds a versatile defender that can defend from 1 to 4. Sometimes he can play the 5 position, but he can also shoot from downtown. So we could always need more added scoring behind the arc. And it was just back and forth in this game. A lot of shooting, not a lot of half-court offense. Is Fultz already a bust in your mind? Dude has no confidence. LVP, no, I don't think Fultz is a bust. I think that's unfair to label him at this point as a bust. Okay, a lot of pressure comes on with that number 1 overall pick. You anticipate guys to really come in here and light the league up. But that doesn't always happen with players. Not every player is a LeBron James, to come to mind, who was a number 1 overall pick and instantly impacted the league. I don't know if Fultz is really ever going to become a transcendent player like a lot of people anticipated. There was a lot of comparisons to Dwayne Wade, James Harden, but I wouldn't say he's a bust. It's going to take some time. He's, again, only 20 years old. So let's give the kid a chance. He still looks very, very raw. I didn't get to finish the game, but muster up just enough. I missed that. Could you send that again? Sorry, guy. But yeah, Markelle Fultz is just going to take some time. He worked on his shot with Drew Hanlon. You think the Sixers will shut him down for the rest of the season like they do every other rookie when he gets injured? Are you Ronald? Fultz sucks. I don't think they will do that with Zaire Smith, depending on how severe it is. They did that with Ben Simmons just because of the type of player that he was, a transcendent talent. But as far as Zaire Smith goes, I think he'll be out the allotted, what is it, 6 to 14 weeks, I believe, that injury, to get healthy. But every person's different. Maybe he can come back a little bit earlier, but I don't think they shut him down for the season. Doesn't sound good. Or the Sixers just not playing as good as we thought. Did you tape it, SB52? I don't want to really ruin the game for you, but there were flashes, again, for the Sixers where they played really well. We were up a lot of points. We were up 14 points at one point. And then they just let the league get away from them with sloppy play, a lot of standing around, not a lot of ball movement. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, they got out of there just by the skin of their teeth. Fultz was a bad man. JJ definitely deserves to start. Um, but it was hairy in situations where they got up a lot of points and then they just blew it by not guarding the perimeter, leaving wide open shots. Simmons injured cause from carrying the damn team. Yeah, no, when you're that big, you tend to have a lot of back issues, and they're going to be very cautious with Ben Simmons, as were they with Joel Embiid, because he's a franchise player. You put him and Embiid as an A1 or 1A, 1B player. One doesn't really overshadow the other because I think they're both phenomenal transcendent players. You seemed really out of sync last week, carrying over. I thought they would at least do better at home. The energy at home has definitely been brought. Like, if you watch that Chicago game, they completely annihilated it. Now, we're not going to cut Fultz. I'll get to that in a second. Love Jay, but why is he guarding Gordon in the last seconds of the game? I'll get to that too, Philly. The reason I think they got that on a switch, when you have J.J. Redick out there, I think Brett should be able to sub him out for offense, defense. Oh, yeah, the Boston game. But you should sub him in because he's a defensive liability, a lot like TJ is when he's out there, too. But you have to have him out there for offensive purposes. They got him on the switch. He's got the huge, height advantage on JJ, 6'9" versus 6'4". And you look at that, he wasn't even fouled. But he was unable to make that second free throw, luckily. Embiid could have ended the game right there if he would have got that rebound. For a guy that's so great at getting rebounds, he has trouble handling the ball sometimes. And it surprises me. So we got it to like 4.9 seconds where Orlando was inbounding the ball, and you hold your breath when Terrence Ross threw that ball up. Fultz is a cancer of the Sixers. What is your hate with Fultz, M5? Why do you hate Markelle Fultz so much? Did you anticipate him coming in here and averaging like 25 points a game right off the bat? Yeah, I don't think Fultz was that bad. I don't know what the hate is. I don't know why people are labeling him a bust. It doesn't. It takes time. Not every player is, again, LeBron James and Magic Johnson. Guys that can come in here, Kobe Bryant, who wasn't a top overall pick, but a lot comes with being a top overall pick. Hey, Fultz even played enough, say for sure what he is. He's not an NBA player. You can't judge that off a guy that's played less than, 40 games. So I can't say that he's a bust. You got to give him time. At least Kel E can hit a three. Oh, Kel. Hey, he's hit a three. But the shot just needs to continue. He needs to be aggressive and work on that. He gets really good penetration when he's running the point. He's able to see the floor well. So even though Ben Simmons comes out, you have the identity of the team who's going to run the offense, and you can run it through Fultz. He's basically a rookie, isn't he? Wasn't he? Well, he played 14 games last season. So, he's played under 40 games. You got to give the guy a chance. It's going to be raw. It's going to take some time. But if you look, you see flashes of what he can be. Now, I don't miss Marco or Ilyasova. Not at all. I think we've got players in here that can do the same things that they can. Ilyasova was kind of a good defender down there on the post, but you replace him with a younger... Well, actually, Wilson Chandler's a little bit older than him, but I think he's a better three-point shooter and definitely a better defender, more athletic. Yeah, Shaman is a nice young player, too. Gotta give him a chance. He was good 4 for 7 last game. Not as good tonight, but that's okay. Shooters go through slumps. That's because JJ was so red hot, so that he didn't really get as much playing time. Rocco drives me crazy, the same worse. Yeah, Rocco has an awful shot selection, okay? And sometimes he gets beat defensively. I think he stuck his foot in his mouth when he said he plays better defense than Kawhi Leonard. That's huge shoes to fill, and for somebody to say something like that, but he gets completely lost when he doesn't have a wide-open three. He looks for players to set him up like Ben. Markel, when they get penetration, they can kick it out, and he can step into a three. That's his thing. That's what he does best on offense. Well, and then we've seen Rocco when he gets the ball in the 24 shot clock, 22 seconds left, and he just jacks up a three when he's double covered. You can't stand when he does that, or when he has, again, in tonight's game, he's got a wide open layup, and he decides to stop and kick it out to a defender, and the defender intercepts it and runs it down the other end. It's just like, take the shot, dude. He gets confused, completely lost, and he just needs to stick what he knows best. Stay behind the three-point line, step into your shots. Let other people create for you. And that's how defenders can play him, too, because they know exactly what he's going to do. They know he's not going to drive and kick to the bucket. He would throw defenders off if he did this, but he doesn't. He's easily guarded, so it's like taking him out of the equation completely. One of these games, Rocco is going to make us lose. I almost thought that was going to happen tonight, honestly. But you have to leave him out there because what he can do defensively. Chandler and Zaire are not out there, so you can't mix and match. We got to get them healthy and out on the court, so we all don't have to cringe when we know what Rocco's going to do by jacking up threes when there's only 2 seconds off the 24 shot clock, or he has a wide open lane and decides to just jack up threes when he's triple covered. But other than all the miscues, Embiid again phenomenal. Doesn't it drive you crazy though when he falls in love with his shot? I hate that. I wish he would go down to the block, go to lunch, and then just do your work. Go to the gym. Take these guys. Nobody can defend you down on the block. You're athletic. You got moves. Out of any, hold on. How come no one wants to come to the Sixers? A lot has to do with Brett Brown, I believe, and the issues that we have with Brian Colangelo, or I should say the owners. I'm sorry, not Brett Brown. With the whole ensuing problems with Brian Colangelo and the whole Twittergate thing. It kind of sets players uneasy if they can't trust anybody if they do come here. They double team Embiid down low because he's not a great passer. Yeah, he's not a great passer out of the post, you're right. But even when he does go down on the post, and he's improved that, we've seen that. I've seen improvement in that part of his game. He could go to work down on the post, but a lot of the times players don't double team because he fumbles the ball a lot. But nobody moves when he goes down on the block, so there always has to be movement. I wish Brett would get on his players for that. See, he's a little soft. I wish Brett was a little bit more stern, like a Popovich who gets on his players, who would bench his stars if they don't do what they're supposed to be doing. Brett seems a little bit softer in that sense, okay? He does come from that organization, the Popovich tree, but he doesn't treat the players. He's a little soft, in my opinion. Only thing I don't like about him is he falls down. Yeah, he fumbles around a lot, and he drops the ball. Somebody that big who can, palm the ball probably 2 fingers, no problem. He fumbles the ball around a lot. He can't hold on to it. He can't hold on to the rock. And when he starts to go crazy and try to do the crossover and spin moves like a guard, he tends to turn the ball over. I think that's his biggest issue. He would have ended the game tonight on that Aaron Gordon missed free throw. He fumbled around, couldn't secure the ball, so we had to go into a nail-biting 4.9 seconds left. But again, I thought it was a great move by Brett by taking JJ out and putting the bigger, longer Amir Johnson in. What do you think this team needs to be elite? We're still missing that third piece, honestly, and we have to have a deeper bench. Our bench is still, I think, one of the worst in the league. It's very young. We need J.J. Redick to come off the bench so you can have some firepower. So that move I thought was great for him to come off the bench. But it just, there's not enough firepower coming off the pine. And you need that third superstar because Ben still doesn't know how to shoot. Okay, so if they're going to clog up the paint, he's still a little bit easier to defend. So until he develops that jump shot, or we get that third superstar, we're still just going to be stuck in between that mediocrity of not being first and be able to get to the championship because we can't beat Boston with this roster, as we saw on opening night. Whether that's getting a big free agent this summer or the emergence of Markelle Fultz, if he can, really show us that he can consistently knock down a jump shot. But out of 2 of the 3 players that we have that were top picks with Ben, Joel, and Markel, only one of them can really shoot, and that's the 7'2" guy, believe it or not. Zaire Smith, we got to get him healthy. It sucks that he went down over the summer with that Jones fracture, with that foot injury, and he had to have the surgery. I hope and pray to God they don't hold him out all summer or the entire season, because we need a player like him to really develop. He's super athletic and he can defend multiple positions. So here, right here, might be coming back December. That would be great, Philly. 0024. For a guy to help. He can also not shoot, though. But a shot can be taught, as we've seen year in, year out with players that weren't able to shoot. Are the Sixers cursed with that injury to the... Yeah, I really think they are, Ramon. I mean, what were the chances? Finally, we got a player in the draft that hadn't been injured in college, didn't have any previous injuries, and almost made it through up into the season. And then right then and there, he gets some horrific injury that has to do with the foot. So yes, I think we are cursed. I don't know where down the road that this happened. It's not like we sold our soul like Jerry Jones did to get championships. So, I understand why the Cowboys have sucked for 20-plus years, but we didn't do that same thing. So what the hell? Hey, man, Zaire, not a bad shooter. No, he's not terrible. But I wouldn't say he's a guy that can consistently go out there and knock down the jumpers and can be relied upon. I hope he does, and maybe he comes back even earlier. I know that's the reports that I was just informed that maybe December. Hopefully he can come back sometime midway through November. Love to see that kid out there, because especially with that high transition offense that we have with Ben leading the point. Just imagine him coming off the wing and just going up for a bunch of alley-oops, or they could alley-oop to each other. Fun, exciting play. Kind of reminds me of like a Iguodala type. Except we don't have to rely on this kid to be, like Iguodala, he had all that pressure on him to be a superstar, which he wasn't. He's a nice role player. So Zaire won't have that issue because we have established superstars in Simmons and Embiid. But yeah, another nail-biter again. We play again Tuesday against Detroit on the road in the new stadium that they have. Yeah, next time we trade first-round guy, I'm praying it doesn't continue to trend. Hey, we still have that chance to get that Kings pick. It's probably a very minute, slim chance that we do get it. And Markel, Tatum, trade will ever be intertwined with that pick, because we gave up a lot to go get Markel Fultz. And if he doesn't turn into the player that we anticipate, BC kind of set us back a little bit more, because we could have added or used that pick somewhere down the road. But the Kings, more or less, are not going to be a very good team this year, so that's going to convey into a top 5 pick, more than likely. It is top protected, number 1 overall protected, so if the Kings do get that pick, it does turn into the Sixers. But anything lower than that, it goes to the Celtics, who are a team that does not need any more talent, okay? They have a chance to get Kawhi Leonard next year. They could also trade for Anthony Davis. So they have a plethora of draft picks. They've got a ton of draft capital and cap space. They're in a very good situation. Once Chandler's back, Joel Chandler adds another guy that can go out there and defend on the wing and the perimeter, which is our weakest point, or is the weakest link in our defense right now. We don't know how to guard the perimeter. That's the quickest way, obviously, for teams to get back into a game. As you saw tonight, it helped us get back into the game, but then it also bit us in the ass because we weren't defending the perimeter. And, Evan Fournier was lighting us up. What are the chances a guy is struggling on the season, shooting 20%, comes in here and unloads? What did he have, like 7 threes tonight? He dropped 31 on us. Yeah, and he can create his own shot. What did Mike Muscala's dad say? What I thought, or what I read, was that he was talking about football players. I think it had something to do with the kneeling, or he was saying the football players that were kneeling, African Americans have a mental illness, I think he said. So I don't think it was related to basketball. It had to do with football players and kneeling, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't really look into it, read into the article. So I believe that's what it was, Alex. Sorry, Ramon, I missed your first comment. What was that? What was before the deadline? Are we going to make a trade? Is that what you asked? Depends on where the Sixers are at. I don't know what we would really trade. And I am going to make a separate video about trading for Jimmy Butler because I'd like to get into an in-depth discussion about that. Seems like subpar shooters always have good games against us. Is that bad luck or lack? No, it's just the lack of perimeter defense, Zach. I actually think Evan Fournier is a pretty... I mean, he's not a great shooter, but he's an above-average shooter. He just got back on track on us because we just play poor perimeter defense. It's been our Achilles heel for the past couple seasons. You know, that's why we went out and got a Wilson Chandler, drafted a Zaire Smith. Because Brett Brown's offense because he learned under Popovich, the Popovich tree, it all hinges on ball movement and defense, especially perimeter. But the Spurs won tons of championships often having dirty, great, prolific defense. And that's the blueprint that the Sixers are trying to use. And Ramon, to get back to you, I don't think we're going to make a deal before the deadline because we really don't have that much to offer anymore. Most of our picks are gone. Philly, could you repeat that? Sorry. Most of our draft capital is gone to really go out and make a big play, but we do have a ton of cap space. So we're going to make a play, hopefully, for a big free agent. I think this upcoming year, the free agent class is better than this year's with the Kawhis and the LeBron Jameses since we whiffed on these guys. They're maybe going to go hard after Antetokounmpo. You've got Kristaps Porzingis out there, along with a few others. Dario always struggles in the beginning of the season. Yeah, he really needs to get back on track. Ben went out there, and I anticipated him to really help Embiid with the offense. He just struggled. His shot's not there. His shot looks flat almost. It doesn't seem like he has his legs under him. Yeah, before you can understand, because he goes back home to Croatia and plays basketball. I know they've tried to cut that out this year to go along with the previous year, with the seasons up and coming. So, you know, that's a lot of basketball for somebody to be playing. But it just doesn't seem like Dario has his legs under him just yet. But you can't or scold the guy for not having effort out there. He was still diving there, still getting their rebounds. But doesn't it drive you nuts? Am I the only one? I don't understand why people want Butler. He's an elite player, but bad for the locker room. I mean, look at what happened with the Bulls. Yeah, again, Philly 0024. I don't really want to get into that because I want to make a separate video discussing that trade and why I think it's bad for the Sixers to try to make a move for Jimmy Butler. But the only player, if we were to make a trade, in my eyes, that would even have a little bit of value would be Dario Saric to go along with our draft picks in the future, but they really don't have value because they're more than likely going to be to the back of the draft, and we're not going to give up on Fultz. We're not going to trade Fultz because he doesn't really have value at this point anyway, and Simmons and Embiid are untouchables. Teams have inquired about getting Simmons and Embiid with the Kawhi trade. You know, for one, the same with Jimmy Butler. I believe they were trying to get Simmons or Embiid, but they're not going anywhere, obviously. Our Sixers brass isn't that stupid to give up on two transcendent players like that. Only pick and has value is that of the 21. Yeah, and we have the Miami pick, right? But we still have to see what that's going to convey into as well. Because Miami isn't that bad of a team. They were in the playoffs last year. We struggled with them. But, yeah, so Sixers, I just began rambling. Sorry, guys. But Sixers cut it close and almost lose to a team that is very young. And we almost lost. What about TJ? He's a sleeper trade piece. Yeah, TJ doesn't have any value, honestly. He's great for the locker room here. He's a good energy guy, but you wouldn't get anything merely than a second-round pick for him, if that. I don't think a team is going to be knocking down your door to get TJ McConnell. And I'm a huge TJ supporter. I love TJ. He's nothing more than a backup, maybe. Fringe backup on a good team. But so Sixers equaling out, guys. Let's hope we can learn from our mistakes. And Simmons is going to be okay with that back stiffness. We can't afford our point guard to be going down. Even though it's the beginning of the year, we don't want to be riddled with injuries because we already are. We got Mike Muscala out. Obviously, Zaire Smith. You've got Wilson Chandler out. And Egghead, but who cares about Jared Bayless? But injuries are adding up. So this is Kyle Gaffner with the Bitter Birds. Sixers are now 2-1 on the season. Next game is at Auburn Hills, or whatever the new stadium's called. All right, let's go Sixers. The Gaff is out. Peace.